Yo, what is up guys, Crody here, back from the video, and you guys are probably wondering why the environment does not look familiar, and that is because I'm actually in a different game. This game is called Adventure Piece. It's an up-and-coming One Piece game. It's kind of like Blox Fruits. It looks pretty good from what I've seen so far. It's not the most popular game, but maybe it will be in the future. The reason I'm playing it is because my friend actually gave me all the devil fruits in the game, and I decided to showcase all of them for you guys in this video if you guys are interested in playing the game. If you do end up wanting to play, the link is in the description below. It's a pretty good game from what I've seen so far. You know, there's a lot of features. It's better than majority of the One Piece games that I've actually seen. You guys can see this guy here with the Yoru blade actually using some of his abilities. The animations in this game are pretty good, but that's not the point of this video. But today we're going to be going over all of the 14, I believe, devil fruits that are inside this game. So let's get straight into it. Alright, so number one, we got the chop fruit. I believe this is a common fruit. I don't know exactly how long it takes for fruits to spawn, but I do believe this is the most common one in the game. It has two moves, one of them being punch and the second one is expand. So the first move you unlock at level 1 and the second move you get at 25 mastery. Until the punch move, it does a little straightforward attack where you attack anything in front of you, and the second move is kind of like this AoE attack. I believe it's supposed to stun people inside of it, but the punch move, it has a decent looking animation and does decent damage. Overall, it's not that good of a fruit, but it is a common fruit in this game, so obviously it's not going to be that strong. In the punch move, I mean, it's pretty okay, but I do really like the animations that are coming from this game. They also gave me Buso Haki, which is the version of Haki in this game. I don't know if I really like the way it looks, but the aura around it is pretty cool. So yeah, this chop fruit's pretty mid. Obviously, it is the most common fruit in the game from what I've seen so far. But let's go and grab our second fruit that we have to showcase today. So at the end of the first island, we can find the fruit dealer, and we're going to equip our second fruit, which I believe is also going to be common, and it is going to be the bubble fruit. This fruit also has two moves. The first one is burst, which is unlocked at mastery 1, and the second is beam, which is at level 25. This game is definitely pretty rated. I would definitely recommend checking out this game if you guys haven't already, especially if you enjoy One Piece. Even if you don't, go ahead and support the game. Some of the developers are some really cool people, so you can support the game if you guys want to. But let's go ahead and test out this fruit. So for move 1, we have burst, and it is going to do this little attack that does close range damage. Let me go up to a mob and try it. So I'm going to use it, and it is going to do some pretty good damage. It's going to be a very short range attack, which is why it's called burst. I'm hoping that beam is a farther range move, because if you're only using burst, then it might not be that good overall. But yeah, it has a pretty nice looking VFX. All right, so here's the second move. We're going to go ahead and use it, and it does this little beam that like follows your mouse. So I don't know if this actually stuns, because I do one-shot everything from this area, but if I use it, you can see that it does have a pretty good range, as well as a short, like 3-second-ish duration, where it's going to hit enemies with a beam of bubbles who are inside of the AoE, obviously. So yeah, pretty good fruit. I believe it's also common. That is 2 out of the 14 fruits that we have today. I don't know how many islands there are. I think there's a few. I know that some of the players in this game are extremely OP and have some of the best swords. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get my hands on these swords for this game, but if you guys do support this game, then maybe in the future I will be allowed to showcase all the swords. But let's go ahead and equip the next fruit that we have today, which is spin. It's obviously going to be another common, but it has two moves as well. The first one is called twirl, and it does this little AoE attack, and at mastery 25 you unlock a flight move, which I think is the first flight move in a devil fruit that you can actually obtain that's a common. The developers said that they didn't really believe in a stamina system, so if you aren't a big fan of traveling around slowly, you can use one of these devil fruits that fly, because there currently is no stamina in the system in the game, which I think can be pretty bad, because if you're doing PvP, then someone can just run away and you won't be able to catch them because there's no stamina. But yeah, the second move is going to be a flight move. It doesn't actually do any damage, but it is very fast and good for transport. But let's go ahead and try the first move on this bandit here. That guy just used his fruit to one-shot all his mobs, but hopefully he'll be able to respawn one soon. All right, so that mob just respawned. Let's use our twirl move now, and boom, it is going to do 100 damage with a pretty decent AoE, and it's now dead. The cooldown is pretty fast. This fruit is definitely one of the better commons that I've seen so far. I don't know if there's any more commons. I think that the rest of them should be like rares or above. I don't know the actual fruit system, but let's go ahead and try out the love fruit next. I don't know what rarity it is. I'm assuming it's also a common, because I don't know if any of these after the pound fruit are actually uncommon or not. that. I'm pretty excited to show you guys the legendary fruits inside of this game because most of them are pretty fun. I did get the ability to test them out earlier, but this is the love fruit here. You guys already know from Boa Hancock from One Piece. So the first move is going to be called Attract, and it's going to do a little AoE move. I'm not sure if it actually brings opponents towards you. I really have no idea, but the second move is at Mastery 25 again, and it's going to be called Mellow. So let's go ahead and try the first move out. So as Attract, we're going to use it, and it's going to do 96 damage, and it's a pretty big AoE similar to the spin fruit that we just used. And let's use the Mellow one. It does this little heart beam similar to the bubble fruit that we just used. It actually reminds me a little bit of Marrow from GPO, if you guys know what I'm talking about. I believe this game is heavily inspired from GPO from the fruits I've seen, but this move is definitely pretty good. I would say this is the best common fruit that I've seen so far, if not for spin, because the transport on that thing is just insane. But yeah, that is the love fruit. It's a pretty good fruit, you know, obviously not extremely good, but for the commons it's definitely up there in my opinion. For a game with less than 100 players, it's definitely more well made than I would have expected. Hopefully they do get the recognition they deserve. Let's equip our next fruit, which is going to be the pound fruit. So again, this one does unlock moves at Mastery 1 and 25, and the first one is called Press. It's another AoE move. There's kind of a trend between fruits where they all have similar moves, but that's completely okay. And the second move is going to be called Float, where it does another transportation move. But guys, look at that animation. Look at how clean it is. I haven't played very many One Piece games, but the animations in this game are just top tier in my opinion. Like the visual effects are just super nice. I don't know, I definitely like the animation on this fruit. It might be one of my favorite animations inside of this game. Let's actually try out the damage move, which is called Press. It's another AoE move similar to the other fruits. So let's use it, and it's going to do 100.2 damage. This fruit doesn't have any like huge long range attacks or huge AoE, but if you were starting out the game and you get this fruit, then it's definitely going to be useful to you. So yeah, this fruit's pretty good. You know, you get your little AoE move, and you also have this really cool transport move. Definitely one of the most creative that I've seen in a One Piece game. But yeah, that is the pound fruit. I believe that ends off our commons here. Okay, so yeah, so that does, and we are now entering, I don't know what rarity it is. I'm assuming it's like an epic, but next we have the paw fruit. Unfortunately in this game it doesn't give you like actual paws on your hands like other One Piece games, but we do have 4 moves here at level 1, 25, 50, and 75. The first mastery move is called Smash, and it's going to be another like small hit range. I believe it does damage if you use it on an opponent that's like right next to you. The second move at mastery 25 is called Thrust, where you shoot out a little paw beam, and I think it looks like it will do a lot of damage if you actually hit it. The third one at 50 is Paw Barrage, and it shoots out a bunch of these. It's like similar to the one in GPO, except there's not as many, but they are bigger. And for the last move, it's called Impact. I'm not exactly sure what it does here. Let's go ahead and test it. Ooh, okay, so that is like a huge AoE move. Not gonna lie, I did not know the AoE move was that big. Let's try out the smash move on NPCs. We're gonna use it, and it's gonna do 122.8 damage. This one has gotten more damage than I have seen in the common fruits. And for the thrust one, it's going to shoot out that little beam, and it's going to do some pretty decent damage as well. The barrage one, you guys already know, it's going to shoot out a couple of those paw beams, and it does decent damage as well. And for the impact one, this is definitely my favorite fruit that I've seen so far. As you can see, it has a huge AoE, and I think it brings things closer to you. I'm not exactly sure because I one-shot the things here, but yeah, that is going to kickstart the higher tier fruits in this game. Honestly, it's pretty good. It's definitely the best fruit we've seen so far, obviously because it is a tier higher. Definitely a big fan of the last move. The animation on that is pretty good, and the VFX are just top tier. Next up, we have the smoke fruit. I believe in this game you can actually equip 2 fruits at once if you have something called a limit break. So this is what the smoke fruit is. It also goes up to 75, which is pretty interesting. In most games I do see as being a common fruit. Alright, so let's test it out. For mastery 1, we have Twister, and that's going to do a little AoE move in front of you. I want to test it and see the damage on a regular bandit, so let's use it here, and it's going to do 127.5, which I believe is a little bit higher than the paw fruit. This one is a little bit more expensive because in this game, similar to other One Piece games, you can actually buy fruits for currency. So yeah, it's a pretty decent move. Definitely the best AoE move like for short range that we've seen so far. And for 25 master, you get a move called Wave, and what that's going to do is going to send out a wave of smoke that is going to do decent damage. It's honestly a really fast attack. If we try from back here, we might actually be able to hit both those. Let's try it out, and yeah, so it's going to kill the first one, and it's going to hit the second one, guys. So definitely a pretty decent long range move. I believe this is the best fruit that I've shown so far purely because of the long range move. And this one also does have a transportation move from what it seems. Let's try it out. So at 50 master, you get a move called Fly, and you fly around with smoke behind you. Honestly, this kind of reminds me of like the Luffy like Bound Man thing. I don't know, it kind of reminds me of that. It's a pretty cool animation. I like the white particles that go behind you. But yeah, that is the 50 master move. You get access to a transportation move, which is pretty sick. And last up at 75 master, we have a move called Smash, where you are going to get a smoke arm and do a huge AoE attack. This move is definitely solid. I don't know if I'd put it above the paw move. We just looked at the final paw move with the big AoE, but this one's definitely cool. You can see like you charge up this smoke arm and then you smash it down, dealing AoE damage to everyone around you. The fruits just keep getting better and better, man. Some of these are a little bit better than others. I accidentally clicked this button, but there are a bunch of islands here. I think there's at least 10 in this place where you guys can farm levels and such and earn cool items. For a game with such a small population, the content is pretty massive. They also have their own little winter event where you guys can actually earn all of these exclusive items. Some of them are cosmetic, but some of them actually boost your stats, which is pretty cool. The dedication for a game so small right now is actually incredible. But that's the smoke fruit. Next up, we are going to equip the gravity fruit. I did get to test this one earlier, and I will say this one is definitely one of my favorite fruits. You know, the NPCs do have a little bit lower health, so I'm going to travel over to the shark park, so hopefully they don't die instantly. So let's go ahead and grab our boat here and spawn it, and let's travel over to the shark park, where hopefully we will get a better representation of the NPCs because they won't have as low health. So now we are sailing to the shark park. It has a similar compass system to GPO actually. I mean, the sailing system, it could be better. Obviously the design's a little bit boring, and the speed system is kind of like standard and not very unique, but you can't really expect much, especially when it's kind of a smaller game, so they don't really have enough funding from what it's looking like. Hopefully in the future they're able to update some of their effects, but the effects that they have on their devil fruits are pretty good. All right, so we're almost there at the shark park. It does look like a pretty cool island, kind of similar to games like Pixel Piece, if you guys do remember that game. All right, so we just arrived at the shark park, and we're going to test our moves on these NPCs here. Hopefully they take a little bit more, because the other ones were dying too quickly, so I couldn't actually test if there was actual lasting effects. Well, I see some NPCs over here, so let's go ahead and go over there and test out some of the moves we have. So what Mastery 1, or basically at when you get the fruit, you get this move called Push, where you end up pushing the enemy. I don't believe there's knockback, and I actually do almost die in one hit. All right, well, I ended up getting one shot by the fishman, so I guess I'm not strong enough to go there yet. Maybe I'll be playing this game, grinding it out, and maybe I'll be strong enough to actually live in the fishman zone. But I guess we're gonna stay here. So we do the first move that I was trying to show off earlier, the push move. It does some pretty decent damage with pretty good range. I actually want to test it again. That's a 500. Okay, so let's try it. And that did 522 damage. That is like almost 4 times more damage than the last fruit we just tested. That is actually insane. So that is a really good move, honestly. Next up at Mastery 25, we have Pressure, and that's like a little AoE move. I really like the animation particles on this. It has a pretty big AoE, and I'm pretty sure it also applies like some slow damage. So let's use it again. We're gonna hit this mob, and so it's gonna apply stun, and it's going to do decent damage with a few ticks. Definitely solid move. Next up, we have Levitate, and it is going to be another fly move, pretty similar to the other one. This one also has its own VFX, so it's pretty cool. And last off at Mastery 25, we have Meteor, which drops a huge meteor. Honestly, that has got to be one of my favorite attacks in this game. It's super fast, and it does a decent amount of damage. So I'm gonna use it one more time, and there we go. We drop a huge meteor on him, and it's going to do pretty good damage. For PvP, that move will probably be pretty good, because I don't know how people are going to be able to react to that in time. But yeah, that is the gravity fruit. Honestly, one of my favorites. Next up, we have the flame fruit, which is, I believe, our like second logo of this video. Yeah, so the first one we had was smoke, and the second one we're going to be using is flame. All right, so we now have our flame fruit. It also goes up to Mastery 75, and also the flame move. Let me go ahead and use that right here. So the flame fruit also has the fly move, as I just said. It's similar to the smoke one, actually. I don't think I like the fly move for this one as much as smoke, just because of the VFX that are on it don't really appeal to me. So let's actually test out the first move, which is called Fire Fist. I believe it does shoot out a short little range attack, and it's also going to be doing around 500 damage. That should be super good for grinding NPCs. So if you guys are lucky enough to get this fruit when you first start playing, then you're going to have a pretty smooth experience grinding, because you can use the attack and run away, and the cooldown is honestly not bad. You guys should be able to almost spam this, and it does pretty decent damage. Next up, we have Flare, and that is going to do another little AoE, and also has pretty decent damage attack. I might actually be able to hit 2 enemies. Let's try it. So I'm going to use it right here, and unfortunately it doesn't hit the second enemy, but it is pretty close. For pure long range attacks alone, this fruit is definitely one of the better ones that I've seen so far, and you get both of them before you actually reach Mastery 25 or at Mastery 25, so it's pretty good, especially for grinding purposes. And the last move is called Emperor. Let's try. You get it at Mastery 75, and it's going to summon a huge heat ball, and it's going to launch at your mouse. It kind of reminds me of GPO with the effects and all, but I mean, you guys can see for yourself. When I end up charging it, the effects that are on this thing are going to be pretty cool. You guys can see how all the heat like charges up into one giant ball before you actually throw it out. I can't really see the damage, but I know it's got to be insane for an ult that big. And the AoE is also pretty good. I don't know how fast it travels. Let's go ahead and see. So it's actually pretty fast, faster than most games I see like in GPO. This is definitely one of the better fruits, especially for grinding mobs and stuff like that. PvP, I don't really know, but for mobs, from what I'm seeing so far, it would definitely be really good to grind with. Next up, we got the polar opposite of flame. We got the ice fruit coming in at 175,000 currency. I believe they do keep going up with currency, so the fruits that are more expensive should realistically be better. The last two fruits are the Phoenix and Dark fruit, so we will be coming up on those soon. It should be pretty exciting. So let's test it out. It also has 75 mastery, similar to the other legendary fruits, I believe they are. So the first move is going to be called Spikes. I believe it has a pretty good long range attack, so let's try it out. Spikes number 1, and it's going to stun the enemy and also do some pretty decent damage. I mean, the range on this thing is pretty good, and the cooldown is also pretty low. And look at that speed, dude. Like, you are not going to be able to react that much if you get hit with that attack. Okay, the first move for mastery 1 Spikes. It's a pretty good attack. You know, I feel like it would definitely be better for grinding and also be decent for PvP. It does about 600 damage. All of these fruits are pretty balanced in this game. Obviously, some are going to be better than others, but generally these fruits are all pretty balanced, as I said earlier. And this fruit also applies stun, so if you guys are trying to grind different mobs at a time, this is definitely going to be a good fruit for that. At mastery 25, you get Pheasant, which is this little bird attack. The animation didn't really show, so I'll try it again for you guys. So we're going to use that on that mob over there. We're going to click it, and it's going to send out an ice bird. This fruit is very similar to the one in GPO. The bird is also pretty cool. I don't really like the animation. You know, it kind of feels a little bit dry, and the VFX on it aren't very special, but it still is a good move overall. I don't know how long the range is, so let's go ahead and test it out. So we're going to send it, and I ended up hitting a mob. Let me try that again. All right, so the Pheasant move, let's send it out, and I don't know how long it's going to go for. Okay, so it reaches pretty far actually. If you're using Spikes to stun them, and then you're also using Pheasant to hit them even more, then it should be a pretty good combo. And at mastery 50, you end up getting this move called Dragon, where it's going to send out an ice dragon, and it looks pretty cool, honestly. That has got to be my favorite use out of an ice fruit in Roblox. So let me try it on this boss here. So we're going to charge it up, and we're going to send it out, and it's going to do some crazy damage with some pretty good AoE. Apparently the bosses respawn faster if there's a VIP player in here, which I think is a pretty unique idea. So let's try it again. We're going to use our dragon, and it's going to apply stun as well. That is definitely really cool. I like how the dragon looks, and the animation is also pretty cool. And for our last move at mastery 75, we have Outbreak, which is also similar to GPO, where you use a huge ice AoE attack. I believe all of these ice moves apply stun, which is pretty interesting actually. So we're going to try it one more time, and it's going to do about 700-800 damage, which is pretty insane, I'm not gonna lie. Unfortunately, this fruit does not have a transportation move, but if you do end up grinding the game and get your limit break, then you will be able to equip multiple fruits at once. So if one of the fruits that you guys have is really good for like AoE and stuff like that, but does not have a transportation move, then you can equip another fruit that actually does have transportation, and that might work out better for you. All right, so next up we have the light fruit. This is actually the fruit that I use in most of my One Piece games because I just like how light fruit usually performs. So this one also is going to have 75 mastery with 3 different moves, and it looks like there is a flight. Let's try that out first. So it has the light flight, which is pretty cool. It's really fast, and it goes in the way your mouse is pointing, so it's really good for transportation. I think the design could be a little bit better, but I do like the glittering effect that comes off of the actual light trail. So enough of that. Let's go back on the ground. Let's test the first move, which is called Ray, and it's going to be a short range attack. The AoE on this move is actually pretty good. It's pretty surprising to me. At mastery 25, we unlock Flash, which is going to be a teleport move from what it looks like. This is the first kind of move that I've seen in this game. Let's try and see if we can reach all the way to that enemy. So we're going to do that, and it's actually going to target the nearest enemy from what it looks like. Even if I'm not looking at it, it might actually hit an enemy. So yeah, it teleports to them, which is pretty interesting. That could have some pretty insane PvP potential for this game. It's honestly kind of OP that you can just teleport to the nearest NPC and hit them for 600 damage. But last up at mastery 75, you get Jewels. And so let's go up in the air and try that. So it's going to unleash a bunch of projectile attacks from what it looks like. I don't know the specific damage, but from what it looks like, it's going to be a pretty decent attack. I don't think it locks on to the nearest target like Flash does, but it does look like it does some pretty decent damage, as I said earlier. If I go right up to them, let's test it out, and it's going to do a bunch of hits for 69.1 damage for me. Obviously, I'm only level 25 with low Devil Fruit Mastery, so for me, it's not going to do as much, but for you guys, if you have it maxed out, it's going to be doing a lot of damage. I don't really know how to feel. It's a pretty decent ultimate, but it's really nothing special that I haven't seen in other games. I don't know if I would use the light fruit in this game, but that's up for you guys to decide. Let's fly over back to the fruit dealer and test out our next fruit. So the next fruit is going to be the lightning fruit, aka Goro Goro. It has 4 moves similar to the other fruits that we've been testing today, and the first move at Mastery 1 is going to be Zap, where it's similar to like the Pika fruit, but I believe this one has a little bit more range to it. Let me try it again and see. Yeah, so it actually extends very far. I was not expecting that. That's pretty crazy. I think I might be able to hit that enemy over there with it. Yeah, so we hit that enemy and we were able to kill it with 1 move at Mastery 1. This thing would have some pretty insane farming, especially if you just like went up on a house and you started spamming enemies with it. You could farm a bunch of experience doing that. This is definitely my favorite first move that I'm seeing so far. The range on it is absolutely crazy, and the AoE looks pretty decent. Next up at 25, we have a move called Barrage, and that's going to do a bunch of little barrage attacks. I believe it also teleports to the first enemy, similar to the light fruit. So let me try it again. We're going to go ahead and click it, and it's going to teleport to this mob, stun them, and do a bunch of AoE attacks. This is definitely a really strong fruit, I cannot lie. When you use it, your character also does a little animation on the floor of the lightning attacks. Let me go ahead and show that to you guys. So I'll click it, and you guys can see I'm on the ground punching the lightning up out of the air. Really strong. I'm not gonna lie, if I played this game more, I might consider using it full time. It also does kind of match my avatar, so there's that. Next up, we have the Spark. It's similar to the Light Flight, but this one is obviously going to be light. I do kind of like the VFX, but I do believe it could be better. I've seen other games do it better, but still, obviously it's a transportation move, so you can't really expect much. And last up, we have the final attack, which is called Rygo, and I'm going to press it right now, and it's going to do a large lightning attack. And you guys just witnessed how big that AoE actually is. There is a party system in this game, which is pretty interesting. I don't know really how that works, but I can see that my party mates are all the way at other islands right now. I'm not strong enough yet to join them, but maybe I will be in the future. So yeah, Rygo, it's a really short charge actually, and it does huge AoE. I would consider it to be better than the light one. Not the light one, I would consider it to be better than the Mara one because of how fast it charges. And the AoE on this thing is just nuts. It killed 3 enemies with the 1 attack, which is pretty insane, but that is the light fruit. So next up, we have the, what do we have? We have the dark fruit, which is the second to last fruit. Again, for a game so small, the fruit selection in this game is pretty crazy. All right, so now we have the dark fruit, which I think is a mythical because there's only 2 fruits that cost that much, which is the dark and the phoenix fruit. Let me go ahead and equip one of my legendary accessories here, as well as the cosmetic, and I also have all the weapons in the game. Apparently, I didn't even know I did. If you guys do want to see a showcase of all the weapons in the game, then let me know in the comment section down below, and I definitely will. Like, just a short break, this move, like this sword is actually pretty cool. If I use this move, you can see, like, look at that animation, guys. It's pretty crazy. Like, this dark blade in this game is pretty unique, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, enough about that. Let's use the dark fruit. So it has the first move at Mastery 1, which is called Absorb, and it's going to be another move that tracks your mouse cursor. Honestly, this one is pretty cool. I think it does multiple hits, and it also stuns the enemy. It's similar to the one GPO. The range on it is pretty good, and it does have a pretty short cooldown, but the actual ability time is kind of short, so you are going to have to use it pretty smart if you want to get maximum efficiency out of it. Next up, we have Portal, and that is going to be an attack that will shoot out little blocks that will damage opponents, which is a pretty good long range attack. I'm not gonna lie. Let me use it one more time, and it should be hitting that enemy. So yeah, so it will. The range on it is also pretty good, and the AoE is pretty good as well. Next up at Mastery 50, we have Hole, and that is going to do a really big AoE attack actually. I'm thinking this one should also apply slow, because if you just look at the attack, like, let me try it. So let me use it, and it does actually cause stun damage. I think this one would have pretty good PvP potential because if someone is running, you can just hit them with this attack and they will be stunned. The damage is good and the cooldown is even better. And last up, we have Oblivion. I don't know what this move actually is, so it's going to charge up another attack. Honestly, it looks the exact same as the light one, but instead of lightning, it's going to be dark. So let me try it one more time. Let me see if the range is as big as that one. So we're going to charge it, and yeah, the range is pretty big. It killed 2 of the mobs nearby. It might even be the same as the light one. For one of the mythical fruits, I was expecting a little bit more, like at least a transportation move, but hopefully the last fruit should be better. The Phoenix fruit, I've heard it is considered the best one in the game from different players. Let's grab that right now. So here it is, the Phoenix fruit, 224,000 currency. There is a gift system in this game where you can purchase gifts for different players and you can obtain permanent fruits similar to block fruits again. I heard there is also races in this game, but I haven't been able to get one other than human. Alright, so to use any of the moves, I believe you have to actually transform, and this is what the model of the Phoenix looks like. It's kind of basic. I don't like how I can't see the actual head of the Phoenix really. The wings animation is pretty cool though, I will give them that, and I can kind of see a little bit of layering on the wings, which is more than I could have hoped for. So let's try the first move, which is Rush at level 25. So it's going to do a little diving attack at your enemy. If someone is running from you in PvP, you can just fly up to them and hit them with a rush move and do some pretty decent damage. It kind of reminds me from the Starburst move from old GPO Tory fruit. So yeah, let me try it again one more time. So there it is, the rush attack. And so next up we have the blast one, which I think is a pretty decent AoE. I don't know if there is actually range attack. It might be, but I was also right next to the ground. So let me try it again. So we're going to click it and it's going to send out a little blast that does decent damage with a big AoE. This fruit's definitely really fast and very versatile. So if you are a player who wants a decent fruit that you guys can get around quickly, then this is definitely going to be the go-to, but it is the rarest fruit in the game. And last up at Mastery 25, we have Overheat, which is a huge AoE attack. This thing also has huge AoE potential. You know, if you're trying to get away, you can just fly away from the NPC and they won't be able to hit you, and you can spam your blast and rush attacks. The Overheat move, in my opinion, is kind of mid, but it does a lot of damage with a pretty decent AoE. This fruit definitely will have a lot of potential if you guys are able to obtain it. But yeah, I believe that is all the fruits that are currently in this game. I do have access to every single weapon in this game, so if you guys would like to see more of this game, then you guys can request it in the comment section down below, or you guys can go ahead and check out the game for yourself. The link will be in the description below. But I'm gonna go ahead and leave this video off here. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Let me know if you guys are able to get your hands on some pretty rare fruits in this game. But yeah, that's all for this video. I'll catch you guys in the next one.